1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard.
At 6:05 p.m. on Thursday, 4th April 1968, Martin Luther King was shot dead while standing on a balcony outside his second floor room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. News of King's assassination prompted major outbreaks of racial violence, resulting in more than 40 deaths nationwide and extensive property damage in over 100 American cities. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
I was just going to say, why, hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi, my sister Jessica.
Hi, my sister Ingrid. This is another situation.
Oh, it is. Indeed.
It is. Thanks for tuning in.
Here we are, another week in.
Mm-hmm. Still here.
So over a year later, because guess what?
Dun, 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 dun. What?
Happy anniversary to us, like 3 weeks ago.
Happy anniversary, sister.
We totally forgot. We've been doing this for a year. Our first episode was February, the first week of February, whatever that Tuesday was in 2022.
Huh. Wow.
Here we are, 3 weeks in, 21 days into February.
Still talking.
I haven't stopped yet.
I was watching a movie tonight with my kids. It's called Flushed Away. Have you ever watched that?
No. Mine wanted to watch it last Friday, and I think one wanted to watch it, and it was vetoed by the other two. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that looks dumb. I don't want to watch it.
It was actually kind of cute, but there was one part in there. There's a French frog. Going back to all I could think is when we offended the French in that Poe episode.
Sorry, we actually love you.
We do, but the character said he's one of the guys is like, "You mock my pain," and he's like, "I mock everyone's pain, but I cry at my own because I am French. This is what we do." I was like, "Oh." Not just me and Ingrid picking on them. It made me giggle when I saw that part. There was a correction from one of our episodes, but I don't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. I didn't. Yeah. So if you catch a mistake, that's the one I meant. Could you tell from the intro what I'm going to talk about?
Well, my guess would be Martin Luther King Jr., but I think I'm probably way off on that.
I thought you were being serious for a second. No. Like, why does everything bad happen in Tennessee except for Dolly? Dolly's the only good thing.
And me.
Well, and yeah, you're not from Tennessee, though. Oh, now I'm ripping on Tennesseans. Yep. That's not what I meant at all.
That's our biggest listenership, by the way. Thanks.
So I just, because you talked about like the women's suffrage, how that happened in Tennessee, and then MLK's assassination.
Women's suffrage was a good thing.
It was a good thing, but that one lady that liked to bomb stuff was not a good one. I can't remember. Do I have my facts mixed up? This is the mistake I meant.
Oh, yeah. It was foreshadowing.
It was. Like,
well, we may as well just foreshadow to every episode here on out.
Well, wasn't there a lady that was against she was a rose or something like that, and she was anti the suffrage movement?
Yeah, there were white roses and yellow roses to symbolize.
Okay. See, so I meant her, not the actual suffrage movement. I meant that lady. Okay, anyways. So I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. It's not a secret. So we're doing conspiracies. And the conspiracy that I first picked out, I can cover in about 5 minutes because there is literally nothing, no information. I took a deep Google dive into it and found like the same 4 facts over and over and over again, and no speculation, no nothing, So I will touch on that at the end of this. And so I decided, since we didn't do anything for MLK Jr.'s birthday or the last month, and it is Black History Month, I decided that we should go over the conspiracy of Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. Okay, so I had a lot of resources. So I'm going to name those. The King Institute from Stanford EDU. The assassination. Ooh, okay. That's going to be a fun one. Assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And then also Wikipedia, of course. And then I also have archives.gov, nationalarchives.gov. I have Office of Justice Programs.gov. It's OJP. Yeah, you know me. I have justice.gov. I have the Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. And then I have an NPR episode, but I didn't listen. I just read it, called Despite Swirl of Conspiracy Theories, Investigators Say the ML Case is Closed. And then Reader's Digest was my last. Anyways.
That one's my favorite.
I saw it and I was like, I used to love looking through Reader's Digest at Grandma and Grandpa's house, or Diana's house. I can't remember which one. It was my favorite thing to look through.
For sure at Diana's, probably Grandma and Grandpa's too. I don't know what was in there. There was something really interesting. I loved reading it too.
They had stories, and I think they would have like jokes throughout it. And then at the very end, there would be a cartoon or two. And then there'd always be at least like 3 coffee ring stains on the front cover of every episode or every publication. I don't know. How much do you know a lot about his death? Are you familiar with it?
A bit.
No.
I think I touched on it last year, but it was brief.
Yeah, you probably did. Okay. So I'll do the brief overview of what happened, and then I'll go into the rest of it. So Martin Luther King was actually in Memphis, Tennessee, because the sanitation workers were going on strike. And so he was going to help protest with the sanitation workers to try to get them more pay. So he got to Tennessee on Wednesday, April 3rd. He was, so there was stuff happening before that. So the FBI was tracking King and had taps on his phone prior to this. They had various reasons. I read various reasons for it. It was either for, they thought he was a communist. They thought he was anti-government. So the FBI was keeping tabs on him. And there was actually 2 black, ununiformed FBI agents that were sent to follow King that day. And when they landed at the airport, they're like, hey, what hotel are you staying in? And his entourage, I can't remember which member of his entourage, didn't trust that. And so they're like, oh, we haven't decided what hotel we're staying in yet. So they didn't tell them. And then for some reason, they also had 4 other agents that they did not request come and be part of their protection when they usually had their own form of protection. It was a black movement, a black militant group that would usually provide protection for King wherever he went. And so that's what they would use. And for some reason, these 4 agents were there, but the 4 agents got called away for No, there's nothing documented. The lead detective's like, no, I don't remember 4 agents being assigned. I don't remember them getting called away prior to the assassination. But there are documents that show that the agents were there. But the head guy's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyways, they end up picking the Lorraine motel, boarding house. I read it called like 3 different things. I don't know if they actually had that in mind before they told the agents. They didn't decide where they were going to stay, or if they just decided on the spot. I think they actually had it in mind because they were meeting with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference colleagues, met Martin Luther King at the hotel. So he came out of his room. He was in room 306, and he came out of his room to talk to them from his balcony because they were standing down in the parking lot. And while he was standing there, he was shot. And one of the last things he said, there was a guy that was playing at a performance later that night. And he's like, I hope they, I actually wanted to get that quote right. But it was along the gist of, I hope they pray some like, Jesus, stay with me, play it really well tonight. And that was one of the last things he said to his friend. So that is how he was, that's how he died. So James Earl Ray was a gentleman who confessed to the murder. Not supposedly, there was, the gun was left at the scene. And then he actually had a room rented for a week. He went into Memphis, I think it was on April 1st, and he checked in and he rented a room at a boarding house across the street from the Lorraine Motel. And in his room, they found a bundle of like cash and documents and I think shell casings, and that had his fingerprints on it. So that's how they knew it was James Earl Ray. And so he actually fled to Canada on April 26th-ish, and he got a fake passport. And there was like a nationwide or international search for this man who killed Martin Luther King. And so his plan was to go to Rhodesia in Europe, which was a primarily white run country. I can't say I'm familiar with Rhodesia. I could not point it out on a map. But so that's where he decided to go. So when he actually landed in Heathrow in London is when he was apprehended by the police. And so they have his confession, and then he starts saying, just because I confess doesn't mean I'm the only one. And he has a past history of burglaries. Like that was his thing. He never had like any kind of assault crimes or anything like that. Like he stole a lot of stuff all the time. And he was serving time. He was serving 45 months, and then he got out, and then he robbed another store and he got like 20 years. And then he served a little bit of time, but he broke out of jail in a bakery van. And so he was on the loose again. And when he was on the loose, he said that he connected with this Hispanic mafia leader named Raul. And so he said that Raul is the one that convinced him to buy the gun and helped him plan the assassination of Martin Luther King, and that he didn't want to do it, but that it was all set up. After he confesses a couple days later, he tells the story of Raul, and that Raul was with the mafia and that he had government ties, and that this goes deeper than just him. And actually, he was convicted. He was convicted because of his confession, and he was convicted to 99 years. However, King's family actually believes in his innocence. And there's a uncle or cousin of King who continues to fight to clear up James Earl Ray's name. Even Martin Luther King's wife, Constance, said that she doesn't believe he did it. She believes it was a bigger conspiracy and that he was just a fall guy. So some of the proof that came out, I think it was, the cousin was doing a mock trial on HBO. I guess what they did, they're like, he never had a trial. James Earl Ray never had a trial because of the confession. And so they're like, well, if he had a trial, I wonder how it would have turned out. So, I mean, it was kind of skewed because I think in the 1990s, everyone had already known of what had happened. But the mock trial was held on HBO, and the mock jury actually found him not guilty of the murder because of what happened. The gun that was found at the scene, the ballistics didn't match the shell casings. The bullets fired from that gun do not have the same striations as the bullets that were in Martin Luther King. And then even James Earl Ray himself said, why would I kill someone and then just leave the gun there? So, I mean, like he had a criminal mind. It's not like he didn't have a violent mind, but he definitely had a criminal mind, you know, of how do I get away with this? So there was that. And then the stuff planted in his room. He said that he never left a bundle of stuff there.
Did they ever they found bullet casings in his room. Did they ever find where those bullets were?
I think they found bullets in his room. I didn't mean to say casings. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for calling me out. No, I'm just kidding. I knew I misspoke when I said it, but I thought no one was paying attention.
But yet here I am asking questions as usual.
All the stuff that I did not care to look deep into. But he said that Raul is the one that helped him get the ammunition and the guns and everything. Like Raul is the one that set him up with that. And Raul is the one that told him to get a room at this boarding house. And then he said that he left the gun and everything else in his room, and he went to a movie for 3 hours. And during that 3-hour span is when Martin Luther King was shot. So I never actually saw anyone try to confirm, like, what movie was it actually there? Did he have a ticket stub or anything like that? It was never talked about. Yeah. So maybe it was like, maybe people did, maybe the investigators did look into it, but I just didn't see it written in anything in like the 7 things I had.
Well, and I wonder what movies were out at that time that would have been 3 hours in duration.
Well, late 60s, that could have been War of the Worlds. That came out then. That was a pretty dang long movie.
It wasn't Titanic or JFK.
Could have been Ben-Hur or that Moses movie. The Red Sea.
That long?
Oh my gosh, Ben-Hur is super long.
Okay. Well, we'll stop speculating on what movies it could be.
Yes. Good call. Okay. So he, like, all of the evidence that they had, aside from his actual confession, is pretty circumstantial. Like, from what I read, like it does seem just very circumstantial. And this guy, yes, he was a white male, but the original APB that came out was that it was a young white male, nicely dressed. And if you've ever seen a picture of James Earl Ray, he is not a young man. He is definitely white, and he dressed well for court, but not in his, everyday life. But I guess that'd be a good cover up to dress nicely, but you can't make old young. Maybe with like makeup now, but in the 60s.
Yes, with proper contouring and highlighting, you can...
With el maquillage.
Yes, you can de-age anybody.
You can also do that with a filter.
He's Snapchatting.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so leading up to this mock trial, there was a branch, or not a branch, there's a committee called the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which was actually started after JFK's assassination. And it's the same committee that said that there was 2 shooters at where did we go? Why am I pulling a blank? At the Grassy Knoll. Sorry. Wow. I was going to try to say the real name of it. Dealey Plaza. There we go. Wow. Geez.
I stopped paying attention for a second, and I thought I was like, well, we've been a lot of places.
I meant Dealey Plaza.
Gotcha.
Okay, so they believe they found evidence that there was other people involved. However, they did not find evidence that the government agencies were involved. So they said, yes, it's more than just James Earl Ray, but we can't say for sure that it's the government.
What was the evidence that proved there was more than one person?
I didn't read the report.
Remember me? I'm the question asker.
Okay, well, I looked at the overview. That was what the justice, the DOJ is. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I don't know. I didn't see their report. I saw the Department of Justice's report, and conspiracy allegations continued, and there was a whole bunch of different ones. So some of the discrepancies, like I said, was APB for a well-dressed young white man seen running from the scene. There was also they found, oh my gosh, I was so far off on what they found in his room.
See, you were foreshadowing.
I had this pretty concise, and then my night went poopy. Okay, they found what appeared to be a quote-unquote murder kit, which had a rifle, binoculars, and a newspaper clipping about Martin Luther King coming to Memphis. And it was wrapped in a green blanket, and that's where the fingerprints evidence came to. The rifle was traced to Ray. So there's a rifle found in his room, and there was a rifle found at the scene. So I don't know. So his fingerprints were not found at the rifle on the scene. They just think that that was the rifle used. However, that was not the rifle used. And the rifle used from Ray's room was also not the rifle used.
So the striations on the bullets didn't match either one of those rifles.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
But so my idea, by the way, of a murder kit is not that. It's like duct tape and zip ties and
lime.
Yes.
Same. That's what Reader's Digest called it. That's what that.
I like the 1960s murder kit is
it's a
top hat, a kerchief,
white gloves, and a cane.
Yes.
Tap
We're
shoes.
Totally in the wrong ass saxophone. What? Okay. We make no sense.
Another thing that leads to the conspiracy is that the fact that there was no trial and that he was rushed, that his plea was rushed, and that his lawyer's like, no, just go with your confession so you don't get the death penalty. Seems that there may have been a cover-up by the FBI because the FBI was harassing King. And that was actually documented in FBI memoranda, like in memos, yes, from the FBI.
Wait, so they actually documented, hey, we are harassing.
Well, no, they documented like followed King and his family to the picnic today, or like they had documentation of everything that they did. And according to Reader's Digest and their murder kit, that's what they call harassment. And then what's also crazy, this part I had no idea about. So Judge W. Preston Battle of Shelby County, Shelby Criminal Court, which is the county that Memphis is in. That was my attempt at a Tennessee accent. Apparently there's a rule that if the judge dies before a motion is made, that they can allow a new trial.
Say that again.
If a judge dies before a motion is made, like, okay, Ray attempted to make a motion before, I'm guessing, like, to recant or request to he tried to do something. It just says motion, so I don't know what motion it was, but it was a motion. And so before the judge that he presented his motion to, he died of a heart attack. So there's a rule that if the judge if the judge dies before they make a ruling on your motion, you're allowed to have a new trial.
First of all, I love that instead of explaining what motion he made, he tried to do something.
Anyways, no new trial.
How this had to have happened in the past to have such a weird rule in place.
It must have. Well, because I would assume that the judge that is making the motion is familiar with the case, is the judge that decided the sentencing, So that's why I think it has to be this. I don't know. If we have a lawyer out there, feel free to chime in. I'm going to speculate and be wrong. Anyway, so no new trial ever came.
Lawyers don't listen to this.
Okay, so no new trial happened. The other idea is that Ray did the killing in hopes of collecting a bounty that was placed on Martin Luther King's head by none other than George Wallace, the founder of the KKK, which I believe.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently there was a $50,000 bounty placed on Martin Luther King's death And they think that James Earl Ray was trying to get that bounty. This is where it gets really interesting. So in 1993, there was a Memphis restaurant owner by the name of Lloyd Jowers, who his name, I don't know why, but it just cracked Jowls. I think because it reminds me of Jowls. Anyways, he said that the mafia paid him $100,000 to plan King's assassination, and that the trigger was pulled by a guy named Frank Holt. And so they actually looked into this. So they looked into Jowers' story. They tried to collaborate it with other people. They couldn't get enough. There was just too much hearsay and too much back and forth that they couldn't really say it was founded. However, it was really interesting. In 1999, the King family sued Lloyd Jowers for Martin Luther King's death, and they won. They only requested $100 because they didn't want it to think it was for financial gain. Yes. And the Shelby County jury unanimously found that Jowers and unnamed others, including government agencies, were responsible for King's death. I did not know that at all.
So how come after that there weren't official charges placed?
I think because civil cases are easy. You don't need as much evidence as you do for a criminal case. Yeah.
Did investigators ever try to pursue him after that?
Well, that's the part that I read, is that they just had too many conflicting stories that they could never actually say that, yes, Jowers is telling the truth. He absolutely had part to do with it, and it had to do with the mafia and the government agencies. So that's the part. The Department of Justice stepped in then, and that's when they did their investigation, and they found no government agencies were involved.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and it was not a conspiracy, and that James Earl Ray was a lone and single gunman that shot Martin Luther King.
I don't like it.
You and me both, sister. Also, Jerry Williams, that's the retired police sergeant that doesn't remember anything. He said that's the guy that says he doesn't remember people being called away and people being sent to protect. And actually what was really weird, so the FBI and the Memphis Police Department actually had pretty thick ties. They had 4 informants on the Memphis Police Department, along with the 2 ununiformed officers that were FBI agents and also worked with the Memphis Police Department. So I don't know what was going on in Memphis back in the day that they needed that many undercover FBI agents.
Possibly just because he's going to be there. I mean, this was in the midst of civil rights and Jim Crow and KKK and just the world being in upheaval. I mean, it's JFK was killed. I think maybe it was just any big figurehead. They're going to take extra precautions.
But it made it sound like these weren't put there because of King. It made it sound like they had been embedded in the Memphis Police Department already. Not the 2 ununiformed. They got death threats. People, other Black people were calling them because there were 2 black males, the ununiformed ones, and they were calling them, and like their families had to go stay in hotels because of all the threats that they were receiving because they were following King around. So it wasn't unknown that these 2 were following around, but the other unnamed people in the Memphis Police Department.
Well, you mentioned that there was a question of him being a communist. So that could be a possibility of why they would be trailing him to see if he's doing any communist behavior. Communistic behavior.
A lot of people do claim that the angle of the KKK creating that bounty on Martin Luther King has never been properly investigated. I believe that too.
Well, why even bother? You're not going to get a straight answer.
No. And I think back then too, like the white supremacists were embedded everywhere as well. So I don't think it would have been a fair investigation anyways.
Probably still are. So
yeah, totally agree. So those are some of the things that happened. And like I said, the Department of Justice said that it was a lone gunman, James Earl Ray. He was the only one that did it. End of story. Another thing, sorry. That was just a paper. Another thing that made me think about it was James Earl Ray. Like I said, he was a burglar, and to pull off this type of assassination, to do the research and to know King's movements and to have the patience to sit there and wait, like he was a criminal of opportunity. Like he saw a store, he wanted it, and he robbed it. So like he did not present himself as the type of criminal that would come up with this advanced of a plan by himself.
Calculating, pre-calculating. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, think what you will. I kind of side with the family because, I mean, that's their loved one. I mean, he was loved by so many, but that is their family member. And if the family doesn't think that he did it, I gotta say I side with them.
Did they map out the trajectory of his bullet wounds and where they
It came from the bushes by where the gun was found.
But not the motel, Holiday Inn.
The motel, the Lorraine motel that he was actually staying at. No, it came from across the street in front of that. It was that boarding house. And then there was some bushes and then a street and then across the street.
Okay. So it couldn't have been him.
No, because that's where he was staying. James Earl Ray had a room at that boarding house across the street.
But you're saying it came from the bushes.
By the boarding house that James Earl Ray was staying.
Okay. I thought you said there was the boarding house, then a street, then bush. Like it sounded like it was too far away.
No. Bushes and street. Okay. That's it. So it's a lot of, it's kind of just like JFK's murder, except it has been proved that there was just one shooter, where JFK's who knows? But there's a bunch of conspiracies about the government agencies being involved, and Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover was involved again. Was not a fan. I can't say hated, but he was not a fan of Martin Luther King at all. So Hoover had it out for him, and then I could see how the white supremacists, obviously. I'm not quite sure how the CIA and mafia work into it, but I'm sure there's some advantage for them over him dying. Well, sanitation workers asking for more money, going on strike. So yeah, it would hurt the labor unions, which the mafia are a part of. And if they were skimming from I'm just going off. I couldn't quite get the mafia tie either, or the CIA.
Mafia and CIA were blamed for everything back then.
they were blamed for JFK's and RFK's.
And Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh, we should do her. She's tragic. So I don't know. I'm sure I could have taken a deeper dive into that, but I wanted to keep it concise and just throw it out.
I appreciate that. I mean, we don't need a 3-hour movie.
No.
Especially since we're a podcast.
Did you say that because that's where James Earl Ray was? Is that what you tying it? Okay. Mm-hmm. That's why I laughed.
And the JFK movie, the conspiracy thing. It's 3.
I never watched that.
It was good.
Is that with Kevin Costner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or saw it. Okay, so moving on to my probably 2-minute blip on my other conspiracy theory. So I was reading about great conspiracy theories, and there was a governor in Maine called Enoch Lincoln, who's actually a very far descendant of Abraham Lincoln. He went to Harvard and he studied law, and he was an assistant district attorney, and then he entered politics at House of Representatives. He won the governor's office of Maine in 1826. His big thing was that he decided to move Augusta he made Augusta the capital of Maine. So if you did not know anything today, now you know that Augusta is the capital of Maine. So he fought against slavery, and he even said slavery is going to cause a civil war. And no, he didn't say that because that was way after 1818. No, it wasn't. It was right before the Civil War. But he did shoot. See, I shouldn't have done 2 stories. I really shouldn't have. Anyways, so he was really into equal rights. So not for women, but for men, which is fine. Kind of. Anyways, so He died while in office in 1829. And supposedly he was buried in a mausoleum at a state park in Augustus. Well, they went to go move his bones, I think, and they went into the tomb and his body was just gone. There was like no documentation of where it went, who moved it, where it could possibly have gone to, like nothing. And there's still no documentation or even speculation on where his bones went. Like it's just gone. Yeah, I thought there would be more behind that story, but that is literally it. So they think like maybe gravediggers moved him and didn't tell anyone, or like a family member just didn't document it. Yeah. So yeah, those are my two conspiracy theories. If you happen to know where Enoch Lincoln's bones are, please let us know, because nobody knows. Nobody knows.
You know, if you started watching the Cabinet of Curiosities that I talked about a while ago, there's one, the rats took it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't started watching that. I just started, I'm trying to finish up.
Well, this was a nice short one. Let's not make it long. Okay. Let's do bees.
Be found when someone looks for your body.
I don't even remember this conversation, but be a Snapchatter.
Because we said you can make yourself younger with the filter. Oh, yeah. Don't be a criminal.
Don't be a bounty hunter. Okay.
Don't put a bounty on someone's head, George.
Okay. Don't be in the KKK. Next week we have another conspiracy.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm super excited. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, brace yourself for that one.
Okay.
Okay. You'll hear us next week. How about that? We won't see you. You won't see us, but you'll hear us.
I'll see you. You'll see me.
Yeah. Lucky
okay,
me.
That's enough.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. If you'd like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.